Okay, so let me start by prefacing this. I like Frances Tiafoe, but I just don't think he has what it takes to be the next big American star. And I think of the major American players that we see today, Tommy Paul, Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, even Jensen Brooksby, I just think he has the lowest level and the lowest ability of those guys. Now, his playing style is very explosive and athletic. He's got a strong serve with that aggressive baseline style and has all the tools to be a top 10 player. But I think there's a few things that are holding him back. I think he has some technical limitations. He's always had an issue with his serve, and fitness is really good, but sometimes his stamina becomes a problem. I remember a couple US Opens ago, he really struggled to keep going. He withdraws from matches from time to time. On top of that, I just don't see him with the mental toughness and focus that all these other players have, that the Fritz has, that Tommy Paul has. And now, granted, Tommy Paul really developed that, and same with Taylor Fritz. And I feel like Tiafoe has been the same Tiafoe mentally as he was when he became a pro player at 17 years old. We can use data to back up my claim as well. Let's look at his results in slams. So he's had strong performances in a few major tournaments, but his overall record in slams paints kind of a bleak picture when it comes to winning the ultimate prize. As of today, Tiafoe's best slam result has been his semifinal appearance at the 2022 US Open, where he lost an epic 5-setter to Alcaraz, who ended up winning the tournament. Now, it was probably the best run of his career, but I think it also revealed some key aspects of his game that are lacking at the highest level. He has inconsistency under pressure, he has an inability to maintain aggressive play for extended periods of time, and I think he lacks a clear strategy to overpower a lot of these, top 10, the Alcarazes, the Sinners, even the Fritzes. On top of that, in other slam tournaments, he's been pretty consistently taken out before the second week. He has early round exits at Wimbledon, French Open, and Australian Open, and nobody's ever really picking Tiafoe to go to the second week. His best performance is always at the US Open, and I think the crowd is such a requirement. The crowd being behind Tiafoe, playing on American soil, it's an absolute necessity for him to perform well. And if the crowd's not there, or if the crowd's against him, he just kind of fizzles out. On top of that, he just has some of the stiffest competition from all the other players. There's Alcaraz, Medvedev, Fritz, and honestly, all the other Americans are just outpacing him now. Even Jensen Brooksby with his massive resurgence coming this tournament as he just got taken out by Jack Draper. I think we have all of these American prospects, and I think it's time that we just start to forget about Tiafoe. He'll still be there, and he might make another semifinal or two at some of the bigger slams, like maybe Australian Open, US Open, but he has horrible results on grass, bad results on clay, so hard court is pretty much all he can do. Where a lot of the other players, we have Tommy Paul, who had success on grass courts, Fritz has had success on grass and clay. We just have these other players that have an ability, and we have a good crop of Americans coming up. Players like Brooksby, players like Kovacevic, players like Colton Smith, some of those college players, Bassavaretti, Lerner Tien. I think we just have a newer generation of American prospects that are looking better, more in tune with the sport, and have a better head game than Frances Tiafoe. And Frances Tiafoe is just a ticking time bomb. There's only so long he has until he can still even maintain the level that he's at. Now, obviously, he's talented and charismatic, and he's fun to watch, especially on US soil. But I think altogether, his lack of technical refinement, his inconsistent performances in majors, and the stiff competition from both the established and emerging players pretty much sum up that he will never win a Grand Slam title. I think he struggles too much in the key moments. He has an inability to consistently dominate top-tier opponents, and you're never picking Tiafoe to make it deep, where you can't say the same about the Tommy Pauls, the Taylor Fritzes, and so on and so forth. And especially in the context of American tennis, Tiafoe just has an inability to rise above the competition at the slam level. And I think it makes him the least hopeful American male tennis player that we have today. He's a strong competitor and an exciting talent, but the gap between Tiafoe and the rest of the players is too wide for him to realistically expect to win one of tennis's most prestigious titles. What do you think? Do you think Tiafoe could pull through? I think he had a pretty bad showing at Indian Wells this year, and he hasn't had a great year altogether. Is 2025 even going to be a solid year for Tiafoe, or is he going to lose ranking? We'll see what happens. Also, most of you watching aren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure to hit that subscribe button for all future tennis content.